Now, we have a number of speakers. We've got public speakers, we've got a councillor, but we've also got Mark Taylor, who is our disability officer. And Mark accompanied us this morning on a visit to the site. And since he has got to leave quite soon, I think unusually we'll ask him if he has any comments to make from a disability point of view on the convenience and safety of the paths.
With this site, there's been several planning applications before, and in the past I've given my approval to having the exit that we saw deemed a fire exit. The fire exit is the double doors which goes out onto a ramp, which I didn't take gradient measure, but the gradient is probably greater than what the building regulations would recommend as an entrance or exit ramp to a building. However, this isn't proposed to be the main entrance to the building. The main entrance is served by a lift and a ramp internally. It would be seen as a fire exit. With any fire exit, there would need to be a fire strategy, the PEP, the personal emergency plan for anyone using that building, and therefore help to get up that ramp could be as part of the fire evacuation plan. The ramp could be changed in its gradient to make egress more easy, and I would feel that as this isn't really part of a planning applications considerations, because it is an existing feature, that I wouldn't feel that it should have any impact on a planning application.
Thank you. Well, that is your view, and I'm sure we'll take that into account.
I will wait for them to sign up.
Would you kindly switch on? All right, so we now have our public speakers, and I'm going to invite Martin Lucas Smith and Dr. Neil to share their 3 minutes in objection.
Okay, thank you. At the Battle of Copenhagen in 1801, Admiral Sir Hyde Parker commanded Admiral Nelson to discontinue action. When this order was brought to Admiral Nelson's attention, he put the telescope to his blind eye, and he said, "I really do not see the signal," and he blundered on. Now, in the officer's report for this application, a number of planning policies are listed, including policies 3.3/4, 3/7, 3/13, 4/2, and 4/11. They may not actually be listed in the report, but they were all included in the officer's advice to the developer in the course of their pre-application correspondence. Now, all of those planning policies and conservation policies, for example, the policy 3/13 on rooftop plant on existing building and conservation areas, demonstrate that this application is wholly unacceptable based on your own policies. Building regulations, document M, which I understand is not part of the planning process, specify that a path of 10 meters must be no steeper than 1 in 20. Now, Mark Taylor has not taken a measurement, but I have. And those slopes, particularly the one which is the emergency access in the case of fire, is steeper than 1 in 7. In addition, in terms of sound and noise, although Condition 7 was recently approved, that's to do with the noise made from inside the studios. Condition 6, which Mr. Patel approved in September, was to do with the baffling, sound baffling for the plant which was on top of the roof. Now, the sound baffling, or the non-baffling of the sound, was approved in September, and we're now 7 months later, and you've not yet approved the location of that plant. Now, all of this material is in public record, and the Cambridgeshire collection has also agreed to bind copies of all the reports. So the proceedings on the fate of the Howard Mallet and all of your decisions on it will continue to be on public record, because what happens in this park on this site is of extreme public interest. Thank you.
Committee, the developer already has a workable permission. What they're asking is for you to make legal some unapproved changes that increase their convenience at the expense of public amenity, and I regard this as completely unnecessary. New paths, part of the protected open space, turn what was previously usable for things like football into fragmented small bits of grass covered in paths. There are clear planning grounds to refuse this. Do not make the shortage of usable open space in Petersfield worse. The roof is being covered in equipment in order to intensify the use of the building. They should simply be required to put them where you've already approved, and that can still be used as a dance school. The thing I'm most concerned about is that on the paths you are being asked to collude in what is clearly a lie. The officer report says that these are for disability escape. The officer in one of the correspondence on the file says, the paths are to the developer, the paths are described as temporary and reliant on phase 2, which is not under your consideration. The proposed paths should, in my view, relate to the use of the building as approved and not the future uses of the site. Why on earth is the officer asking the developer to change their reason for the paths? The developer replies, I will ask our architects to amend the description to DDA means of compliant. What you're being asked to approve here is nothing to do with disability at all, and it's not even compliant with the regulations for that. It's about a phase 2 development that is not under your consideration. The developer's gone ahead at their own risk and added these. You should undo it. And Mark said that you've got clear grounds to reject. The developer's own document says fragmentation of paths limits the use of games. It does not comply with 3.7, which says that you're required to improve and enhance open space. The Eastern Gate, SPD, requires proposals similarly to preserve and enhance and to minimise the impact. The Eastern Gate also, SPD says, potential to enhance and increase the size of St Matthew's Feast, which is being decreased. The Sam's own letter in 2003 says we would still require a robust justification for any loss, which has not been provided. And in general, the planning inspector will not look favourably on a retrospective application which has an obviously problematic case history. On the roofs, very briefly, there are basically 4 options. You've already rejected the idea of painting. The idea of covering it with a mirror finish was not liked by the Urban Conservation Design team. And the option that you're not being considered is not to do anything and leave it as it currently is. The developer already has permission to have the plants on the side. There's no reason they couldn't do that. The only reason they want to put it here, and it's very visible from the park, not like the dark photos you've just seen, is simply to intensify the site. So on these 2 grounds, please reject the plant, which is ugly, and the conservation people don't like it. Please reject the paths which are for phase 2 of the application, nothing to do with not complying with disability regulations, and retain the quality of the piece, which is very short. It's by
Thank you very much. Councillor Roberts.
Well, you had this application before you in the previous meeting, and you know there were a lot of concerns from the local residents about the appearance of the equipment on the roof and its impact on the conservation area that they live in. Firstly, I want to talk about the pathways. On the plan, perhaps we could have the plan up again, showing the public open space area and the building. It's one of the first plans that was shown.
First one.
That's it, I think, yes. Now there's a green line just beside the Citylife House, which is marks here, so it's showing you now. That marks the edge of the public open space, and you can see that the pathways have been built right across into the public open space and destroying the impact of that space on the amenity of the area and the conservation area in particular. That should not be allowed. If there needs to be escape access, then that pathway should stay within the area that the Citylife House had full access to and not encroach on the public open space. There is arguments that these are not needed as emergency exits anyway, but even if they are, there is space to go laterally along beside the building rather than going straight out into the open space. So on those grounds alone, really the the applicant has built something they should not have built and should be asked to revert the grass to the area that they've built on. Going on to the roof plant, this was subject to or it was originally going to be roof plant for the air conditioning units, etc., which would be on the side of the building. As you've seen, the officer has shown you that. As has also been said, in the pre-application advice, the applicants were given full, clear understanding of what the policies are that the council is operating, and they've chosen to ignore them. They didn't try and, when they thought they wanted to change things, they did not come back to the council to ask for permission to change their plans. They just went ahead and built the building as it is now, with vast equipment on the roof all spread all over the place. I'm told there are actually 19 units on the roof, not 15, but anyway, they're all nearly 2 metres tall, a really gross and version on the occupation area. Your policies you're following under the 2006 plan require that the permission will only be permitted if the design of any new building or the alteration of an existing one preserves or enhances the character or appearance of the conservation area by faithfully reflecting its context and providing a successful contrast with it. What the applicant is trying to do is to retain their unapproved constructions on the roof, totally against the interests of the conservation area and the residents in the area around it. When your paragraph 439 of the policy states, when considering applications, the desirability or preserving or enhancing the area's character or appearance is a material consideration in conservation areas. It's vital that you take note of this and reflect the fact that what they're proposing is not acceptable. The conservation team itself has said that putting reflective material around the air conditioning units is not really acceptable to them. They don't feel it's right. I don't think the officer should be overriding them, and I don't think you should either. I think you should accept the advice of the conservation officer that it's not acceptable to do that. What needs to happen is that the plant needs to be moved back to where it was given approval for on the side of the building and taken off the roof completely. I think it's very important that in the conservation areas all applicants are treated equally in applying the policy. If an applicant in one of these narrow terrace streets around here are trying to build on top of their house, they would not have got permission. If they'd gone ahead and done it, they would have been told to remove it. The same should be true of this building. There's no right for this developer to build on the top of it in an unapproved way, and in a way that destroys the amenity for the residents in the area and the appearance and character of the conservation area. So I'll urge you to reject this application. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Robinson.
Chair, through you, I think as if we're to follow protocol, we'll vote on the officer recommendation. Then I have 2 draft reasons for refusal that I could share with members, and members may, if the officer recommendation is not carried, vote on those individual reasons.
Right, so we'll put the matter to the substantive vote immediately, and then we will provide the reasons as drawn up by officers. Right, the recommendation is one of approval. Those in favour of that recommendation, please show. And those against? Unanimously opposed. Would you now, Toby, give us the wording for the 2 reasons for refusal?
Thanks, Chair. So in relation to plant, the plant and its associated screening, because of its length, height and visibility from surrounding streets and from St Matthew's Piece, appears as a cumbersome addition to the rooftop of the existing building and is of poor design. Its presence is incongruous, and the external mirrored screen finish proposed would only serve to draw attention to it. Painting the plant as a substitute for the screen would not be appropriate, and a condition seeking an alternative screening detail would not overcome the impact of its presence. As such, the plant installation as existing and as proposed with the mirrored screen finish would detract from the character and appearance of the conservation area and surrounding park and open space, contrary to Cambridge Local Plan Policy 411. The harm would be less than substantial to the significance of the conservation area as a whole, but would not be outweighed by any identifiable public benefit arising from its installation, and is therefore contrary to paragraph 134 of the NPPF 2012. That's the first reason for refusal in relation to plant. In relation to paths, the proposed paths and associated spurs off the east side of the building and within the protected open space and conservation area unnecessarily fragment its configuration and are harmful to its former soft grassed character and setting. The former character of the protected open space provided a continuous grassed area connecting the protected open space from the east of the building to the south side of the building and to the remainder of St Matthew's Piece. As a result of their installation, the paths appear at odds with the former setting of the building, with its landscaped environment, and reduce the flexibility of the open space for recreational use by members of the public and users of the building. They do not serve to enhance either the use or setting of the protected open space and only serve the building for means of fire escape. As such, the paths are contrary to Cambridge Local Plan Policies 4.2 and 4.11 and are contrary to paragraph 134 of the NPPF 2012.
Those are the two reasons that the officers have advanced for the refusal of this application, for our decision to refuse the application. I'll take them each in turn. The root plant aspect, those in favour of the wording of the refusal, please indicate. And secondly, the question of the disposition of the paths, those in favour of the wording advanced by officers, please indicate. Thank you. If I may, I'd like to pay a personal tribute to our own planning team, because they sat here this afternoon sincerely and earnestly recommending approval for this application. But they had prepared that detailed wording in anticipation of a contrary decision, which I think is a measure of the independence of our own planning department. And I thank them very warmly for that, for all of you. So that takes care of that item.